very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Providence City Council meeting on this very beautiful May 2nd, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Council President Miller?
Present.
Councilor Anderbaugh? Councilwoman Anthony? Present. Councilman Espinal?
Present.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves?
Present.
Councilwoman Graves?
Present.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris?
Present.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Present.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo?
Present.
Councilor Royas?
Present.
Councilwoman Ryan?
Present.
Majority Whip Sanchez?
Present.
Majority Leader Taylor?
Present.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas?
Present.
Councilman Oscar Vargas?
Present.
You have 15 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Pro Tem Juan Pichardo. Will everyone please rise, including our guests, for the invocation?
Thank you. O Lord, in your heavenly home, we come before you today seeking wisdom and courage. We acknowledge our imperfections as humans and ask for your forgiveness for the actions we have taken. As we reflect on International Labor Day, we are reminded of the struggles faced by working families and the vulnerable among us. In a world where the wealthy amass fortunes, as the rich get richer, and the use of the law and money like a game of monopoly, their gains and profits should not enslave people with debt and lack of equitable resources. Grant us the grace to empathize with their plight and to work towards creating a world where all can thrive. Guide our hearts and minds as we conduct the affairs of our community, keeping us rooted in the service of our constituents. May our city, Providence, be a beacon of hope and prosperity for all its residents, especially our children, who represent the future. In this confusing world, fraught with conflict and uncertainty, we implore you for peace. Touch the hearts of those in positions of power, influence, instilling in them the wisdom to seek peaceful resolutions to conflicts. Only through your divine guidance can true peace be achieved. Lord, we entrust our hopes and aspirations to you, knowing that you alone can illuminate our path forward. Amen.
This evening, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilor Royas.
To the flag.
Thank you both. Pro Tem Pichardo.
Madam President, point of personal privilege.
Please.
Thank you, Madam President. Today I rise to welcome our Providence residents from the Parent Leadership Training Academy from the Providence Public School System. As you recall, last year we had another cohort of leaders in the community being trained by the FACE office, which is the Family Engagement and Community Engagement for the Providence Public School System. They are joined here by the Executive Director of FACE, which is Karina Pinto. Is Karina Pinto, can you please rise? And we'll hold our applauses, and at the end we can recognize all our members. The other person that's coordinating this effort is Delia Rodriguez Maswan. Delia, can you please rise? Thank you for your service. Also my lovely, here we go. My lovely wife, Janet Pichardo, who is the Executive Director. Applause, you know. No one tells this council what to do. And we have approximately 26 parents who went through this Leadership Academy. Some of us at City Council went to speak to them about our experience and how did we get involved in community, in volunteering, but most importantly also our life as a elected official. I know that Councilwoman Shelley Peterson went there, and also Councilman Oscar Vargas. And I would tell you that they probably learned that between Councilman Oscar Vargas and Shelley Peterson, and also I believe Councilman Sanchez, the majority of the parent leaders are from your district. And so I would like to call their name, and if you could please stand up as I call your name. The first one is Alba Urbaez Gomez. Bienvenida. Arelis Bello. Delma Martínez. Francisco Reyes. Ingrid Ceballo. Ingrid Marínez. Jessica Figueroa. Ginaldi Marmol. Joana Rodríguez, Karina Cárdenas Blanco, Liliana Jiménez, Luis Núñez, Luz Morfe, Maggie Rosa, Marilyn Lizardo, Marien Rodríguez, Neris Encarnación, Rosa de González de Frías, Sandy Beroa, Sofía Peña Abreu, Stephanie Soler Miranda, Tatiana Peña, Yamira Marrero, Janina Soto, Yaritza Alvarado Miranda, Giselda Rodríguez. Bienvenido. Welcome everyone, and thank you for participating in the leadership and being empowered and having the resources in the city of Providence. And I congratulate all of you. At this time, Madam President, I turn the mic to you and give them an applause. They have the sessions on Saturdays. As I read the prayers today, is reminded how when we were out there in the picket line, or at least yesterday, about international labor, these parents after they work, they go to the sessions and then on Saturday. So they work very hard to ensure that their kids get a good education and also participate in the leadership program. Thank you.
That's awesome. Pro Tem, would you like to take a picture, take a brief recess and a picture with everyone right now? Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Please come on in and
I'm not sure if other councilmen wanted to say something.
I'm sorry. Would anyone else like to say anything before we move on? All right, come on in. Okay, thank you so much. And there is some food, so please enjoy, and thank you for everything you're doing. Madam Clerk, item 3, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 3 and move approval.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. Item 4, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 4 and lay on the table.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second on item 4. Any discussion? Councilwoman Ryan.
Madam President, thank you very much. Happy to hear that we're laying this item, this very important item, on the table. It needs further work, further discussion. On what I'd like to ask, because I think it states the issues quite eloquently, is on that the letter dated April 29 to you, Council President Rachel Miller, from SWAP, signed by Carla DeStefano, actually be read into the record. I think it articulates all of the issues that I've had, as well as other council members who have expressed to me with this ordinance. So thank you.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Dear Councilor Rachel Miller, in 2025, SWAP will celebrate 50 years of building affordable housing and revitalizing neighborhoods in Providence. SWAP has never wavered from its mission of providing healthy, affordable homes for sale and rent to low and moderate income individuals, families, and households. In 1991, SWAP was awarded one of Rhode Island's first allocations of low-income housing tax credits to preserve 4 historic homes on Elmwood Avenue and provide apartments to low-income families. Since that time, SWAP has created over 400 affordable apartments to revitalize neighborhoods with LIHTC financing. SWAP's portfolio of affordable rental apartments is primarily in 2- and 3-family houses in South Providence, some new and some completely rehabbed. Rents are priced to be affordable to households earning between 30% to 60% of area median income, and every SWAP apartment is affordable under the Rhode Island Affordable Housing Law. The 8% tax law has been an essential component in each of the very complex financing that is needed to build and operate these developments. We are concerned that the proposed ordinance, if passed as written, will jeopardize existing and new developments of affordable rental housing in Providence and may be adopted in other communities across the state. For many years, housing advocates have lobbied the legislature for some clarifications to the 8% law to make it less complex and more workable. This year, some of those changes have been addressed. We know that there have been questions raised about the application of the 8% law to some Providence developments, rightly so in some cases. Whether a developer is for-profit or nonprofit, if they are getting tangible financial benefits for creating affordable housing, the affordability restriction should be clear and enforceable. However, because affordable housing like SWAP's utilize so many restricted state and federal programs, some points in the proposed amendment may conflict with other government requirements and have the unintended consequences of causing the underwriters of truly and deeply affordable homes to pause developments currently being financed and make financing with LIHTC more challenging and perhaps impossible. The LIHTC is the primary source of federal affordable housing funding, and without it, almost all the developments by SWAP and other true community developers will stop. We need to make sure the amendment does not sacrifice the good for the perfect. We ask that the council pause the second vote on the ordinance and take additional time to consult with SWAP and others who are working with affordable housing programs every day about what the current consequences could be, how to best achieve your goals and preserve our mutual ones. We would be happy to share our expertise and commitment to truly affordable homes in Providence.
Thank you. Further discussion.
Madam President?
Councilor Royas.
I just want to note, I don't disagree with laying this on the table. I will just make reference to this letter. I see what's happening here. I think what I will say is I look forward to working with our nonprofit developers. I would ask the author of this letter to provide specific citations as far as the unintended consequences of this ordinance. So in the coming days, I look forward to reaching out to meet Ms. DiStefano and get to the heart of the concerns. So this, and I'm just going to say this plainly, I know you can't say this in politics, but this letter looks like it was written by the mayor. And so I see this game right, happening right before our eyes, and I'm just, again, I'm going to work with, in the coming days to make sure this is, agreeable with everyone, but there's literally no specifics in this letter. Literally none. I just find it difficult to appreciate a letter when there's no citations to the ordinance, when you're referencing unintended consequences. Please get specific. Thank you.
Councilwoman Anderbaugh, sorry.
Thank you, President Miller. I also just wanted to rise and address you, Council President, and say that I came here today prepared to vote yes on this override, and just wanted to share that spirit as we're moving forward to taking it up again in 2 weeks. I just wanted to share a few things, and I'll be very brief, I promise, but because I'm not much of a speechifier, but I want to acknowledge this isn't perfect. Of course it's not perfect. These are really complicated problems that we're dealing with. They're messy. The solutions will be incomplete. We're going to need a lot of solutions. There's no one silver bullet that's going to solve these issues. And we will need to work together to continue to create more solutions. But also at the same time, the status quo is not the right option and is in fact the worst option on the table. So we even see our agenda tonight has a property opting out of a TSA, and we've seen several come through trying to opt out of other things they have with the city to opt into the 8 Law program. And as a member of the Finance Committee and someone who's deeply concerned about the finances of our city, continuing to lose tax revenue in a way that's unfair to our residents for programs that are meant to support affordable housing is really unconscionable to me. So I support the table, I'll vote for the table, but I want to make sure that this is a table and not a shelving, and that it's not going away to get dusty on a shelf, that we work on this together over the next 2 weeks to make it stronger and address real concerns that we've heard, real specific concerns, and make it stronger and better, but know that we're going to need to come together and continue to work together to create more solutions for the many problems that our housing issue requires, or that our housing issue faces. And there's not going to be any one silver bullet. So I just wanted to rise and share that with folks, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to start my remarks in being clear that I'm a big supporter of the work that SWAP does and the assistance that they provide to a lot of our neighbors. And I like to provide facts and data to back up with what I say. So those aren't empty words. Just yesterday, as a member of the PRA board, I approved $700,000 for a project that SWAP has going on. So I do recognize the important work, and I'll always support solid work that they do and all the other nonprofit developers in the city, in the region. But to going off of my colleague, to build on my colleague Royce's points regarding this letter, it's a little concerning that not one specific reasoning or specific part of the ordinance having unintended consequences. I'm all for tabling if there's going to be productive dialogue over the next 2 weeks and we come back here and approve this ordinance that's going to help. At the end of the day, the people of Providence, I had a few comments in mind regarding if we were going to vote on it. And to me, there's so many different conversations happening, a lot of influence happening, a lot of phone calls are happening, a lot of lobbying happening. But to me, it's really simple. You're either with the people of the Providence or you're not with the people of Providence. And while I do appreciate the dialogues that we're going to continue to have the next 2 weeks, I'm going to remind folks that we can't change the ordinance between now and 2 weeks. So if there is any specific concerns, I'm not sure what the next dialogue step is. But of course, if folks want to feel that they've been a part of it, we welcome that. And just being the transparent advocate that I am, it's almost with any situation, if the mayor calls a ED of a local nonprofit to oppose a certain bill, unfortunately there's so much dependence on the city transactions that it puts the people in leadership in those nonprofits in a very difficult position. So with that being said, I will, be open to any dialogue over the next 2 weeks. If anyone feels that they've been left out of a process, but the last thing I want to say is there's been comments about this being rushed the last couple weeks, and although that I do agree there should be maybe a public hearing on all ordinances going forward, it's too late for that. That's a mistake that we all have on our shoulders. It's not changing. But to say that 8 law, this conversation is new, my first conversation in finance was about 8 law. After this meeting, we're going to go to the 3rd, 4th, 5th meeting with the outside counsel to talk about 8 law. So now that we have a bill that protects the people of Providence and ensures the intended use of affordable units, I'm just not sure where we go from here. I'm open to talking to all my colleagues. I'll have a conversation with anyone, any developer out there. You guys know where to find me. But I'm a little frustrated with this body today. I hope we come back in 2 weeks and have the votes to defend, to represent the people of Providence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion, Councilwoman Graves.
I have to get used to this new mic. I'm sorry. I too was going to vote yes for this. I feel that we need to speak for the voiceless. I have sat on a lot of these boards and committees that deal with housing. I got a lot of phone calls, pro and con. But through it all, we have to realize that we have to fight for the people that have the least. We all know there was some shenanigans going on, and we know that it was not just that one person or just one deal. We need to make sure that the houses that are for affordable housing should go to people that need affordable housing. It should not go to buddies. It should not go to friends. It should not go to people that we used to know, somebody in our family. And if we don't stand up for the people, then shame on us, all of us. I'm willing to go back and talk, but I go along with the rest of my colleagues that have spoken so far, that we need to say enough is enough. Every time we have some type of meeting, we always talk about, all of us, we need to be transparent, we need to do this, I want to protect my community. The community is the poor as well as the rich. We need to remember that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion on item 4. Councilwoman Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. There's a lot, excuse me, that one of my colleagues expressed. A lot to unpack there. And I don't want to take up too much time on this. The matter has been tabled. But I heard a couple of disturbing things and challenging the integrity and the letter that was submitted to this body as testimony in an effort to contribute to the decisions that this body makes. What has troubled me from the past on this ordinance is the speed and the swiftness that was executed to try to get it passed quickly. I don't understand it. When I asked who in the affordable housing industry have we conversed with when we were preparing this, or when this body was preparing the ordinance, I was simply told we've spoken with a lot of people. So, as many of you know, or some may not, I've been in the industry pretty much all of my professional career. I've worked with SWAP. I've worked with a lot of the affordable housing developers, and it's hard work and it's complicated. And if it were easy, we wouldn't have a housing crisis right now. And that's the reality. So the argument that we're saying we have a housing crisis, we have to rush, this is about the people of Providence. Well, we're all concerned about the housing crisis. We're all concerned about creating affordable housing. But why rush? The housers needed to be brought to the table, all of them, not have one-off conversations, not to write this on the run. I've heard my colleagues say that it's about facts and details, and they deal in facts. Well, I deal in facts too, but if the people that have the intelligence and deal with the laws and the restrictions as part of their daily life aren't brought to the table, we don't have the facts, and we don't have enough information to be making these decisions that will impact the people of Providence for years to come. SWAP put forth a letter. My colleagues can say that the mayor prompted it. I can argue that I had a conversation with SWAP and a number of other housers since this was passed, and I was not very happy with it, to try to ferret out the issues. Were you informed? Did you get asked? Did you get an opportunity to sit at the table? Time and time again, the answer was no. They want to be able to sit at the table. They think it's important. They're crying out and saying it's important. The mayor has vetoed this because he understands that the unintended consequences will result in a reduction in the creation of affordable housing, the very thing that everyone here is so, headstrong about doing. So I have simply said from day one, slow down, this is really important, let's get it right. The affordable housers are saying, we want to work with you, we want to be brought to the table. And yes, we should, as Majority Leader Taylor said, why haven't we had a public hearing? What is the reason for moving fast? There are no applications in process right now. We're not holding anybody up. If we continue to run headstrong into this and under the impression or try to get publicity that we're doing the work for the people and that we're creating affordable housing, shame. Shame on us, because that's not what's going to happen. So I'm not happy it's laid on the table, because I don't think it has the votes to win the day tonight. But what I am hoping for, that we use the 2 weeks that we have and seriously pull in the affordable housing folks and sit around the table and look at the ordinance with the folks that have to deal with it. It's their job. They've lived it. It's not just a political slogan. It's their life's work. Honor them and respect them. Don't humiliate them and make fun of them for offering testimony to this body so that we can come up with a better mousetrap, if you will. The last thing I have to say is we can't even ask the policy person what they were thinking when they drafted this, because they're no longer with the city council. So it's fraught with issues. We need to stop. We need to use 2 weeks and get around the table and try to figure this out and try to make meaningful solutions. The affordable housing industry has been crying and has been trying to change the 8 law for years. Let's work with them instead of against them.
Any further discussion? Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to lay it out on the record that although maybe this certain provider wasn't consulted, there has been emails that show that the Housing Network, Rhode Island Housing, folks have had certain conversations, folks have had brought in, so although maybe not the direct ones, to say that no housing affordable providers have been consulted is a straight lie. And the second thing I want to say is to respond to the question, what is the rush? The rush is that there's people that are sleeping on the freaking streets right now. And the more that we delay certain policies like this, the more and more people are going to be on the streets. This isn't a concern around a table in certain buildings like this. This is real life consequences. People are intense right now, and the more that we kick down policies like this, like past political bodies have done, the more people in our neighborhoods that aren't going to have a place to call home. Housing is a human right. I think all of us here would agree with that. So why are we saying that but not enacting certain policies to back that up? This is something that is so needed, so overgone. I mean, for how long, how many more months and years, councils, are we going to kick down the road because certain people weren't consulted? No, let's pass these policies, and if there is any issues, we can always reopen the ordinance and make certain amendments. That's what policy, good legislation is we put something out there. If it doesn't work 100%, then we come back to the table, acknowledge the mistakes. All of us, have egos, but I think this council has the humanity and the respect of our voters that we will acknowledge certain mistakes if there's mistakes. But with this ordinance, there really isn't any unintended consequences, because if there was, they would be specifically listed in this letter. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion on item 4. Majority Leader Taylor.
I wasn't going to speak, but after all that, I have to say something. First of all, I was going to vote no on this. I personally would have liked to have it come to a vote, because I don't think we did have the votes. But it's not that I vote no, and I explained this before, maybe some people didn't understand it, that I didn't vote no because I didn't think the 8 law needed to be changed. I voted no because of the process. The process was rushed. We always know, and my colleagues know, that we always have a public hearing. Why on such a important issue as this, that we didn't have a public hearing? People ask, what are you going to hear in a public hearing? Me personally, I want to hear from, I want to hear from the developers, but I also want to hear from the people that are living under that 8 law. In other words, I'm Jim Taylor, I live under 8 law, I'm part of the 8%, 10%, whatever it is, AMI. Well, now I get a raise, and I make more money. Am I still under the AMI? I don't know that. So I want to hear from those people and hear what is going on, because are they getting thrown out to try to better themselves? I don't know that. There's also legislation that's in the State House, and I would like to see where that's going, because I don't know where that's headed. And if they, I'll bring it back to the residency rule. I think I mentioned this before. When I became a fireman, I had to move to the city. I didn't live in the city. I lived in North Kingstown. I moved to the city. They had a residency law. The police and fire teachers, they fought. The city at that time put it out to voters to vote. Do you believe in the residency law? The voters voted overwhelming, yes, we want our police, fire, and teachers to live in the city. What happened was the unions were strong back then because they lived in the city, and they went to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly said, nah, you don't need to live in the city, and they wrote it out. So all that work that we did as, the people voting for it and doing everything, the General Assembly just said, no, you don't have to. As soon, the ink wasn't even dry and everybody moved out of the city, police and fire. I was one of the ones who stayed. And I'm glad I stayed because I've made a difference, I feel. But I'm just saying, this is rushed. I'm not against the changing it, but let's do it right the first time. Don't stand up here and tell everybody, well, we can do it and then we can come back and make amendments and we change it. What? If there's a problem, let's fix it now. If you're acknowledging something's wrong, let's look at it. Let's sit down. We're 90% or more, I would say, that are interested in changing this. I believe the administration is probably 90% or more changing it. Let's sit and talk and try to come up with something that's 98% maybe, and then that way we're not coming back and making amendments. So I hope that we have some very good dialogue. We just don't say, okay, see you in 2 weeks when we're coming back for a vote, because I'll be voting against it then. Because I don't think that, I would like to see personally to have a public hearing, which we always does, because for the last 6 years, my colleagues who were here before and here now, I've heard so many times, we need open, transparent, we've got to be open, transparent. This is not being open and transparent when we have a finance hearing and someone who took time out of their, schedule to sit there and listen, only one person, and wanted to talk and wasn't given, and I'll say the courtesy, because that person was involved in politics and was sat at the council president and was a former mayor. So I understand it's self-interest, but we should hear them. We should have to listen to, like if Councilman Sanchez 40 years from now has an issue and wants to come back to something, he should be able to talk about it, not be shut down and say you're out of order. So I just, again, I would have voted no. Too bad we're not voting for it because I think we had the votes to shoot it down. But I'm willing to listen to it and go forward, and I'm hoping we can have a good dialogue instead of just coming back in 2 weeks and voting on it. Thank you.
Further discussion on item 4. Pro Tem Pichardo, did you have your hand up?
I did. I think that we, as a city council, and I hope that we don't keep kicking the can down the road when it comes to accountability for the 8 law. Because this has been in discussion for months now. The staff have done a tremendous work on it, whether if it was Christina, whether it's Aaron, and all of us. The fact that people started paying attention at the last minute and started sending letters or advocating, that's the process. And I hope that my colleagues, as you hear the arguments that we all have made, the reality is that many of us who ran for office or have been in the public eye and of service, we've heard that we need more real affordable housing, especially in the downtown areas. And today, we've decided to table it because the mayor decided that it wasn't the appropriate time or that it would have certain issues. But the fact remains, and this is to my colleague, the fact remains is that the staff here has been working and having the dialogue, and we had the hearing in finance. This does not go, this wasn't intended to have a retroactive process to it. It was going forward to have a little bit more accountability as the 8 law has been established. And if we are going to kick the can to say, let the General Assembly handle this, we won't be here in 10 years because the General Assembly is more complicated than us. There's 2 houses. I know, as I chair the Housing and Municipal Government in the Senate, very few things move forward. And so, as we're tabling it and hearing it from people, I hope whether, at the end we do take a vote, whether it's up or down, or we let the veto just ride out, that the administration, the community, the developers, and community organization really pay attention, and all of us, to really have more accountability for these developers in our communities. Because again, we didn't get elected just to kick the can down the road. And many of you, as the majority leader had indicated, and I also was very hesitant in the beginning when I first casted my first vote, that I thought it was being rushed. But at the same time, I also took upon myself to do my due diligence and speak to other people and talk to the staff. That's what is required of us also, to ensure that when we're working on a piece of legislation, that we take the calls from the administration, that we also reach out to our nonprofits and developers. Sometimes the media doesn't pick it up, but this issue has been on the radar for months. And so, as we lay it on the table, I just wanted to say that the staff has worked hard. The president has worked hard on this, and all of us, to make sure that there's more accountability of this 8 law and more affordable housing in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none.
Madam President?
Councilman Reyes.
I'm sorry, this is
To lay item 4 on the table.
Okay, I'm going to oppose.
Okay. Any further discussion? Sorry, everyone clear on the vote? The motion passes 14-1. Thank you very much. Item 5, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 5 and 6 and pass for the second time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on items 5 and 6? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbois.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal.
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson.
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas.
Nay.
Councilwoman Ryan.
Aye.
Majority Whip Sanchez.
Nay.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Aye.
You have 13 ayes, 2 nays. The motion carries. The matters are passed for the second time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 7, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 7.
Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 7? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Madam Clerk, the motion passes. Please refer item 7 to the Committee on Ordinances.
So noted.
Item 8, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 8 and pass for the first time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second on item 8. Any discussion? Please, Pro Tem Pichardo.
Madam President, this bill before us is the establishment of the school board regions, that for the first time in Providence in a long time to have an election for school board members, a hybrid school board elections. I wanted to commend the committee for going out to the community. We had 4 hearings in the community and also a public hearing in City Hall. And I wanted to commend the committee for doing the work. And I know as a chair of this committee is important work, because for the first time, people are going to campaign and put their wishes of their participation within the public schools. The Vice Chairwoman, Shirley Peterson, thank you for your support and your leadership. Miguel Sanchez, John Goncalves, and Ana Vargas. These 5 regions have met all the requirements, and we had some participation, but it was important for us to do, as the electors made that decision a couple of years ago, and for the first time we're going to have a hybrid model of representation in the school board. With that said, Madam President, I move passage.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Further discussion on item 8. Councilman Gonsalves.
Madam President, I just want to echo those remarks made by the chairman and also say thank you to the council members that were very involved in that robust process. So Councilor or Vice Chair Peterson, Sanchez, as well as Vargas. So again, I want to echo those remarks and thank the members for all their hard work during the process. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbaugh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal.
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson. Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas. Councilwoman Ryan.
Aye.
Majority Whip Sanchez.
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Aye.
You have 15 ayes. The motion carries. The matter is passed for the first time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I just want to take a point of personal expression and thank all of the members of the Ward Boundaries Committee who had to do a lot of work in a very short period of time. And also give a special thanks to our Policy Director, Erin Easter-Gardner, and point all of our counselors, the report that accompanies this ordinance is well worth a read. We absolutely made the election for school boards possible tonight, so thank you all so much. Item 9, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 9 through 12.
Second, Madam President.
Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 9 through 12? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please refer items 9 through 12 each to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
Item 13, please.
Madam President.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Sorry. Motion to waive the readings of items 13 through 19 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 13 through 19? Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to start out by thanking Councilor Sanchez and Councilman Goncalves for co-sponsoring such a very important piece of legislation in defending community of Ward 10 of Washington Park and South Providence. As you know, Madam President, for over a decade, Rhode Island Metal Recycling has been running an operation that is unlicensed, that is not regulated, and that is causing a lot of harm to the environment and to the people of Ward 10. We have standing strong, the advocates, the residents, to say no more. So this is why tonight we're calling on the closure of this unregulated, unlicensed business. And there is so much detail that I really would like to, if you allow me to ask Madam Clerk to please read this resolution into the records if it is possible. And I apologize in advance, but I can continue as they look for that. I continue to tell that ever since I was elected in 2019, it's always been a challenge, and South Providence has to do with the bad actors in the that operate in the Port of Providence. But the community has stood strong and is always willing to engage and to make sure that this does not continue to happen. Madam Clerk, please.
Whereas a fire broke out on the night of Wednesday, April 10th, 2024 at Rhode Island Recycled Metals, a scrap metal operation located in the Washington Park and South Providence neighborhoods of the city's 10th ward. And whereas Rhode Island Recycled Metals has been the subject of a long-running legal dispute with state authorities and has recently faced enforcement action from Mayor Smiley's administration, including a cease and desist order from the city. And whereas Rhode Island Recycled Metals has a history of repeated violations of environmental regulations dating back to at least 2012, when the Department of Environmental Management first cited the company for polluting the river. And whereas, despite enforcement actions and legal proceedings initiated by state agencies, including a lawsuit filed in Superior Court by the Department of Environmental Management and the Attorney General's Office, Rhode Island Recycled Metals continued to operate in disregard of environmental laws and regulations. And whereas the company's failure to comply with permits and settlement agreements, including requirements to control runoff, remove deteriorating vessels, and restore the site, has raised serious concerns about its commitment to environmental stewardship and public safety. And whereas the recent fire at Rhode Island Recycled Metals serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing threats posed by this company's operations, highlighting the urgent need to hold the business accountable for its repeated violations of environmental laws and regulations, as well as its disregard for public safety and the neighboring communities. And whereas Ward 10 Councilman Pedro Espinal stands in solidarity with the residents of Washington Park, South Providence, and community advocates who have been disproportionately affected by the operations of Rhode Island Recycled Metals. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Providence condemns the negligence of Rhode Island Recycled Metals and calls for swift and decisive action that goes as far as full closure of the facility to ensure the safety and health of our neighborhoods. And be it further resolved that the City Council urges state authorities to continue their investigations into Rhode Island Recycled Metals and take appropriate enforcement actions to hold the business accountable for its actions. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution shall be transmitted to Mayor Brett Smiley, the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, and other relevant state agencies to emphasize the urgency of addressing the ongoing threats posed by Rhode Island Recycled Metals.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam President, as you hear the description of everything that's been happening down there. This day and age, you would think that this is not happening in this country, that this is not happening in a community. That's why I stand strong and being grateful and thankful to my colleagues as I ask them to support me in calling for the closure of this business on behalf of the residents of Ward 10. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on items 13 through 19. Councilman Gonsalves.
Madam President, I would like to echo those remarks. The Washington Park community and the South Providence community in general has been riddled with issues as a result of the activities at the port. And I just want to thank Chairman Pedro Espinal for being a fierce advocate, as he has been over the last several years, on environmental issues, specifically in the Port of Providence, but more generally in the Washington Park community. So Ward 10 is lucky to have such a fierce advocate, and I want to thank Chairman Espinal for his leadership on these environmental issues. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Item 13 through 19, further discussion. Hearing none. All in favor of items 13 through 19?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 20.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 20 and 21.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on 20 and 21? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please refer both items to the Committee on City Property.
So noted.
Item 22.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 22 and pass on a voice vote.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 22? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 23, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the readings of items 23 through 34 and pass for the first time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 23 through 34?
Madam President.
President Pro Tem, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. On item number 32, this is the item that regulates a little bit of the short-term lenders, also known as the payday lending. Providence cannot do much to regulate the short-term lenders or the payday lending, as we know. There's a couple of bills at the State House that's been there for now close to 20 years, and we passed a resolution encouraging them to pass and reform the payday lending bills. This bill actually just has more accountability for the payday lenders. It provides for the first time that they will have to pay $250 to the City of Providence. And they're also, if they don't meet if they violate any of our ordinance, they will come before our city review again, and it provided some penalty. But we're relying on the state legislation that we hope that our Providence delegation, along with the General Assembly, to pass the payday lending and reform it, because it's the only state in New England that actually has these type of onerous percentage charging for these small loans. And most of the people that are affected are the working class that are struggling, that we keep advocating for. And with that said, I move passage.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Further discussion on items 23 through 34. Councilman Espinal.
Madam President, I'll be brief. I just want to rise and be grateful and thank the Committee on Ordinance for all the work that they did. They never tire. Councilman Vargas, thank you so much. Councilor Royas, Councilor Peterson, Councilwoman Harris. We deeply appreciate your tireless work in the Ordinance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, items 23 through 34.
Madam President,
Councilor Royas.
I just want to quickly rise and thank my colleagues on the ordinance. Thank my colleagues for supporting the amendment to the Housing Trust Fund. What we're doing today is, I think, a small step to solving this housing crisis, which is going to require that any funds that are transferred to the Housing Trust Fund and are used to fund affordable housing development projects that the AMI threshold is 80% AMI or below. As it was before this amendment, it was at 120% AMI, which, in my view, is a demographic that is doing very well in this city, and so we lowered that threshold to really meet ordinary folks in this city and to get folks to housing that they need and the right people that get the right people to housing that they need. So I hope my colleagues will support that, and I thank all my colleagues for their collaboration on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gonsalves.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo those remarks. And I also want to thank Councilor Royas for his leadership on this. I think it closes a critical loophole. It better defines affordable housing and AMI. I think this is an issue that we've been dealing with locally as a city, and I think the ordinance is a step in the right direction. So I just want to thank the sponsor for his leadership on this, and I'm proud to support it.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councilwoman Graves.
I have basically a question and a comment. 23, is this the 50-50 sidewalk thing that we talked about before, wearing a new dress?
Councilwoman, that would be if the sponsor would like to respond to that question, you're welcome to.
Because one of the sponsors respond to that, please?
Councilman Gonsalves, would you like to respond to that question? You're
Yes.
welcome. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I still have the same thing that I said before. I have a problem with us doing 50-50. There's too many people that can't afford to pay 50% to get their sidewalks done. So I have a feeling that it's going to always be somebody with more money getting their sidewalks done while people are still languishing on those lists. I just did my sidewalk list for Ward 12. There's people on that list that goes all the way back to 2002 that have not had their sidewalks done. I think it's a shame that we're going to allow somebody to happen to have a little bit of ducats to get theirs done while they still languish on those lists. I did 55 people, and I still have a lot of people still need their sidewalks done. I don't understand why we keep feeling like we have to give to the haves and not the have-nots. I will be voting a strong no on this, and I really think we need to start searching our hearts and our souls.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councilman Gonsalves.
Thank you, Madam President. So respectfully, a lot of that is inaccurate, so I'd like to dispute it. So first and foremost, this fund is a pilot program that is distributed equitably amongst all 15 wards in the city. It does not replace any capital improvement project dollars that are currently being used to fix some of our sidewalks. So those sidewalks that are currently in the pipeline are still in the pipeline through the CIP project fund. What this does, however, is it's a supplemental pilot program that will allow residents, precisely the resident who has been on that list since 2002, to actually apply and to put some skin in the game with regards to fixing their own sidewalk. The city then reimburses half of the repairs up to $5,000 so that work can be done faster. If you put that in perspective, with the $1 million pilot program, we will be addressing $2 million worth of sidewalk repairs throughout the city. If we do nothing, then those funds don't get matched, and that person who has been waiting for 20 plus years will never get their sidewalk addressed. So what this does is it's a supplemental fund that helps people who have been chomping at the bit and waiting for years and years to get their sidewalks done to be able to do so and it doesn't replace current capital improvement project funding in order to accomplish that. So again, just to put it in perspective, if we do nothing, if we do the status quo, we will not be able to address the demand of sidewalks that need to be completed in every single one of our wards. The fact that this fund, and we thought about this very deliberately, is dispersed equitably amongst all 15 wards is precisely to address the equity problem. Additionally, if the funds aren't used in that specific ward, it rolls over to your NIF fund. So you will have an opportunity to address some of the sidewalk repairs specifically in your ward. And we did that so folks on the east side, for example, who might have more means, don't simply take more advantage of the process than folks all across different areas of the city who may not have the means. So this was done very thoughtfully, it was done very intentionally, it was done with equity in mind, and so I just want to clarify some of those points because I think it's very important to acknowledge. And again, if we put aside a fund that helps address these issues, the matching funds will help us address some of the critical and ailing infrastructure needs that we have across the city of Providence. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion, items 23 through 34. Councilwoman Graves.
I'd just like to respond. It's the same thing. You tried to dress it up, and I'm very happy that we did add that extra pot, that it will go into the pot. But if the people don't have any monies in their pockets, they're going to still be on that list. So we still are jumping ahead of people that have been languishing on lists for over 20 years. That's my list. I have a big problem in doing that. If you're going to give the money to somebody, give it to the other. Give that 50% to the ones that couldn't afford to pay for it. The city's going to give back 50. Instead of giving back that 50, give it to the people that couldn't afford it. You know, I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to say I'm still saying a no, because we still are overlooking groups of people that are going to be suffering. And it just happens over and over again. I don't think our voices are being heard. I don't think my voice is being heard, but I will be voting no. And I don't really need to hear anything else.
Thank you. Majority Leader Taylor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Graves, who makes some very good points. Because we have two cities here. We have the West End, where they can't afford anything, and we have the East Side where they can afford everything. And the problem that I have with this is that I think we're the only city around that actually does sidewalks for the people. The people are actually in Johnston and North Providence. They're responsible to replace their own sidewalks. But the biggest problem I have is doing some sidewalks in my ward, the prices that they're charging. The price that they charge for, I mean, I could probably hire someone cheaper than what we're paying in the city. They charge, you know, to do, it's astronomical. I don't know if you've seen the prices. They charge for the details. Sometimes the details, they don't even need them, but they're still paying for them. And I agree. I don't think in my ward, some of the sidewalks that need to be done, the people can afford $5,000, $10,000. They live in paycheck to paycheck in a house with families that, I mean, they've got their whole families, their mother, father, grandparents, everybody living in the house just to try to pay for the bills for the house. So I will also be voting no for this because I think in my ward, maybe the Reservoir Triangle, some people will be able to afford it, but I just don't see it. And as far as the money going to go into if you don't use your money, I can see that not going back into the NIF, and then kind of like the Pox money and everything else that we had, and then it disappeared, and where did it go? So I see that happening, and I don't want to. I know in my ward, on the east side, maybe in Fox Point, they'll use all their money up real quick. But on my side, and that's why personally, when I do projects, I don't do sidewalks. I do playgrounds, I do basketball courts, I do soccer fields, I do stuff that the kids, to get them off the street, where I do a sidewalk for one house or 2 or 3 houses, and it costs me like 50 grand. I'm like, $50,000, come on, I could hire Jose down the street would do probably just as a good job. And unfortunately, DPW doesn't have enough people. They can't even get sidewalk people. They put in they put out jobs, and nobody wants to do the sidewalks. So DPW's hands are tied. So I will be voting no. I'm sorry to be lengthy, but I strongly feel that in the West End, I won't see the money, and someone else will see the money, even when it comes down to NIF. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Councilwoman Anderbaugh.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to rise just to respectfully point out that there are people of all income levels in all of our neighborhoods, and I think the east side gets painted as entirely like our driveways are made out of gold, and that's not the case. There are people of all income levels, particularly in Ward 3, which is incredibly economic diverse. I'm actually not voting to support this, but just wanted to rise and say that because I think my residents watch these meetings and are frankly offended when that gets painted in that broad brush. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion on items 23 through 34. Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you. I actually am also going to be voting against this. I had a number of questions that were never fully addressed when this was presented, and one of the things that continues to come to mind is that we never actually came to an agreement or even discussed what exactly it would look like. Asphalt is significantly cheaper than concrete. And so if we don't have any sort of formality to what we're going to be expending or what we're allowing or what we're supporting or what we're not supporting, it really doesn't bring that equity that we're trying to bring forward. And what you're going to see is a lot of perhaps an opportunity where it was possible in one neighborhood, it's not in the other, and I see that as being fairly unequitable. While I appreciate that it leaves it open, the reality is very true that the cost is very prohibitive for many of our neighbors, and when we have to, or should they have to choose between one form, whether it be concrete or asphalt or whatever it might be, we're going to run into a problem of a lot of very ununiform and very something not great to look at, and people are going to complain, and we're going to have continued conversation around quality of life. This doesn't look right. Why was it allowed on this side when it wasn't on this side? It brings up a lot more of a continued problem than I would be comfortable sharing with my justifying with my neighbors. So therefore, as a result of that, and not really having the answers or the resolution on those questions that I had put forward, I'm going to be voting against it.
Thank you. Did I see another hand? Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. When this came before, first introduced and it came before our committee, there was legitimate concerns, and there was certain amendments, and that was addressed. I'll be voting for it because simply my ward is going to be $66,666.66 richer. Okay, so I get where it's for someone. There is an element here that I like to point out, and that's 6 months. There's a window of 6 months. There are 6 months where anybody in my ward will be able to say, I don't want to wait any longer. I want to pay up, I want to, my sidewalk fixed. I want to get up to $5,000. My community is poor, so I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what? That $66,000 is going to remain within the NIF account. And then I'll take that money and I'll fix that sidewalk. So I'm not going to walk away from an amount of money that is being allocated to each ward. So let's not get a little confused here. Not many people will take an advantage of this program because they don't have the money, but the dollars will remain within your NIF account. That is a guarantee. We vetted this, and it's a good piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Further conversation. Councilman Sanchez.
To be honest, am a little indifferent about this item number 23. I think a big issue that, I mean, we all know it exists, but no one's addressing it is we have, as a council, about $3 million in ARPA funds to use for sidewalk repairs. Already projects that have been located and approved through our end. The issue is that this city doesn't have the capacity in our building engineering department at DPW. There's not enough contractors in the city to build sidewalks. So we can talk about more money for sidewalks, but we have money in the pipeline that we handed over in September that we're being told now isn't going to be used until maybe at the end of the year, most likely at the beginning of next year. So I think that's where we need to refocus this conversation about sidewalks is expanding the capacity here with our DPW department and also doing more outreach to different contractors. I know my colleague, Pro Temp, Pichardo has been trying to do more work with minority, women-owned businesses, and that's where we really should be spending our time and energy is expanding the capacity internally so we can get our sidewalk projects up and going in a more timely manner and finding those contractors, because you know, we all know they're here in the city. We're, for some reason, not reaching them. So that's just all I want to say. Item number 23, I appreciate the work that my colleague put forward, but I think the main issue is in another piece of legislation that we should try to work on.
Thank you. Further discussion, 23 through 34. Councilman Vargas. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Ay, my goodness. What are days? This nation, when it started to build them, is bringing people the another, the another city or the another country. So when you want to doing something, and you, for example, in my work, I have a lady who say, I don't want to die until I see that side work be done. Why we have to pay so many money if we don't have that money? When this nation start to building, it's bringing people from everywhere and pay a little money. So why we not do that? And also, my work deserve to have it better because it's pay the taxes, it pay everything, and never. I have 18 years in the same area, and it's not done yet. So why we not doing, little thing? Because we do it when we started that nation. So we are immigrants, so we come here to work and work hard. Why we not do that? Why we have to wait for the PW doing, or somebody doing too much? Why? We have that money? No. So, one in my condition, so doing and pay for her cash to see that. This is not fair. He have their own house and he pay their own taxes. Why have the one side can have a privilege and one another side can have nothing? This is not fair. That's my opinion.
Councilman Vargas.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I rise on this ordinance. It's not a good ordinance because it's not fair for the taxpayers. The taxpayers been paying so much taxes to get services done. When we create this ordinance, we giving a break to DPW not to do the work because we getting behind so much work, but it's not because it's no companies out there that want to do the work. It's because we create so many regulations that we don't want the little people to come and do the job. They ask for so much regulations that any little person who can do concrete, they will say, oh, you don't qualify. Why? Because, oh, you don't have a big truck, you don't have so many people working for you, you don't have a $2 million in insurance. They put so many excuses not to give the opportunity to a little guy to do the job. Anybody can do concrete. I do concrete. Everybody knows how to mix a concrete. What is the big deal? So this ordinance is not good because you making the people, the citizens of Providence, to spend more money, the money that we don't have. Anybody, we have so many different incomes. No matter where you live, you can live in the east side, you can live in the west side, you can live in the north, you can live in the south. Everybody were equal in this chamber. So we have to make the best of the best for the citizens of the Providence, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion. Councilman Gonsalves.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate all that feedback from our council colleagues here, and I respectfully would love to continue to have conversations with folks to make it better. We thought we did that through the committee process. We talked extensively with DPW about how we would do that. Again, I just want to share, because maybe this is lost on people, when you have $1 million fund that becomes $2 million worth of investment in infrastructure, the status quo does nothing. This is supplemental. So it adds on to the work that's already being done. It's not replacing that work. Additionally, this already works in other cities. Pawtucket is a shining example. You can call Mayor Don Grebian. He can tell you about how this program works in his community. That's what they do in Pawtucket. In addition, there are lots of other municipalities that have 50-50 sidewalk repair programs. And in fact, this is not a new idea. This is something that was brought up in previous councils by previous council members, such as, I think, Councilman Zurier had a similar ordinance to address this issue. So again, if we do nothing, the status quo continues. The people who are on those waiting lists for very long will continue to stay on those waiting lists. And for anyone who's making this about the east side versus other parts of the city, there's this baked-in assumption that the east side's going to leverage this fund more than anybody else, or the east side has the means, when that's not necessarily true. I think that this goes back into, if people don't apply to this program, the remaining funds, as stipulated in this ordinance, rolls over into your NIF account, so you can address sidewalks in your ward. So perhaps there's just a lot of misinformation out there. I'm happy to talk to members of this council to kind of hone in on the details and to work with them collaboratively to figure out a path forward. So I would love to make a motion to continue. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
So, Councilman, there is currently a motion on the table to do a roll call vote on items 23 through 34. I would ask the sponsor of that motion if he would like to withdraw that motion and make a motion to continue item 23. That is up to the sponsor.
I would say no unless he has a second. I don't know. I'm going to say no.
So he can't have, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we'll keep it the same. Keep the motion to vote.
Just
for the
Robert's
first
rules,
time.
he can't get a second without, because we have
No,
to.
I know, but I'm going to keep it the same to keep the reading.
Okay.
I think I've heard enough from enough of my colleagues to see where this vote now or later is going, so.
Okay.
So there's not going to be an opportunity to chat about it in the committee process or to work out some of the kinks? I'm respectfully asking for there to be
I think
withdrawal
there
of
was
the
enough,
motion.
I would hope there was enough discussion. I didn't follow it in the ordinance committee, but I think there was enough discussion in the ordinance committee. I've heard from my colleagues here, so I'm not going to change the motion.
The ordinance, the ordinance committee recommended approval.
Okay, this is devolving into like a conversation between two counselors. So right now, the motion stands as it is to pass items 23 through 34. Sorry, Councilman. Other discussion. Councilwoman Harris.
Oops. I'd like to rise because I want to rise and leave on a good note. There is other things that's in this docket that we should reflect on too, such as the resolution for $30 million amendment for addressing homelessness. The reason I'm rising on this is because since I've been here, I'm very passionate. I have been very passionate about how do we address the housing crisis and how do we move forward. I think with this council, there has been some proactive movement around addressing the issues, not only around housing. Although we had to lay on the table tonight the resolution around, the ordinance around the 8% law, I do know that I feel really good about this council and aggressiveness to push towards the people that you're talking about, my colleague, that don't have a voice. And so, of all things that I want to reflect, and especially for the young people who are documenting us today, there is some very proactive stuff here, and I want to just say I really appreciate item 22 and the fact that we are still working as hard as we can to address the crisis, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm just going to take a moment and confer with the clerk for a second. Okay, thank you very much. Councilwoman Harris, thank you so much. Further discussion on items 23 through 34. Councilman Gonsalves.
Point of order, I just want to make sure that he's the only one who can withdraw that motion based on Robert's Rules of Order.
That is correct. The
So, again,
Majority Leader
Leader,
certainly could do that.
respectfully asking that maybe you withdraw the motion specifically for that item, so we
again,
can bring
you
it back to committee, Madam President.
Direct comments to me, yes. Is someone, any further comment? All right, further discussion, items 23 through 34. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
I'd like to abstain on items 23 and approve items 24 through 34.
Councilor Anderbois.
I'd like to vote no on 23 and yea on the other items right now.
Councilwoman Anthony.
I'm going to vote nay on 23 and aye on the rest. Thank you.
Councilman Espinal.
Yes on all of them.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Nay on 23, yes on everything else.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
No on 23 and yes on the others.
Councilwoman Peterson.
Nay on 23 and aye on everything else.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Nay on 23 and yea on the rest.
Councilor Royas.
Aye on all of them.
Councilwoman Ryan.
Yay.
Majority Whip Sanchez. Majority Leader Taylor.
No on 23, yes on the rest.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Stay in 23 and the rest are yes.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Nay in 23 and aye in the rest.
So you have 15 ayes on matters 24 through 34. So those matters are passed for the first time on a roll call vote. With regard to number 23, so it's, what do you have? 10. You have 9 ayes, 1 abstention, and who else abstained? Oh. Just give us a moment, please. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 A's. 2 not voting. And 5 A's. All right, so for matter number 23, you have 5 ayes, 8 nays, 2 abstention. The motion to pass for the first time on a roll call vote has failed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 35, please.
Madam President.
President Pro Tem.
Can I say a few words on number 34, even though we just passed it?
You're welcome to have a point of personal expression.
Point of personal privilege?
Please.
Thank you. I want to thank my colleagues for the vote on the TSA for the 126 Adelaide Avenue. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things. One is the wonderful work that Aaron Gardner has done with this project, because I think it took almost a year to get this done. And this project on 126 Adelaide Avenue, due to the developer Tom, is significant because out of the 15 units, at least 25% of it is 80% AMI. And that's what I struggle, and my mission is to try to make sure that all of us push for some affordability within all these projects. And so I wanted to really commend all of you also and the chairwoman in finance for holding the hearings and hearing out. I know we had a public hearing on all these. At least for me, it is important because it gets an old abandoned church that was not really being used, but also now they're going to get to pay some taxes, as the majority leader has always said. But it's going to be a place that people are going to call home, and that is going to have some mixed housing. And I wanted to thank all of you for listening to his presentation. I think they did a wonderful job, and they're doing a wonderful job in the project. So thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Item 35.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 35 through 39.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions on item 35 through 39? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer item 35 to the Committee on Ordinances, 36 to claims and pending suits, 37 through 39, note as received.
So noted.
Thank you.
Madam President, may I use a point of personal expression?
Sure.
I'm not sure if anyone has recognized, I know Councilwoman Harris is, but I just want to take a moment to recognize all the youth. As the youngest counselor, I feel like I relate to them the most. So I just want to thank you guys all for coming, participating in the civic engagement of the city. You're more than welcome to reach out to any one of us, to our staff here. If you guys have any more questions or interest in local government, we're always more than happy to collaborate and talk and support your guys' efforts. I just want to thank you all. Are you guys Boy Scouts? Boy Scouts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. You beat me to that by just a few minutes. No, that's okay. Yeah, welcome to everyone who's here, and of course, we'd be happy to talk to you more. Okay. Item 40. Did we do that already? Item 40.
No, Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 40 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item 40?
Madam President,
Councilman Reyes.
I just want to, before we close out, I'm going to try and make a habit out of this, but I want to thank the clerks, as always, for your hard work and for... And of course, our council staff for always having our backs and being patient with us.
Thank you, Counselor.
And the food.
And for the food, yes, of course. Further discussion on item 40.
Well, I want to make a comment too, and it's not.
Maybe we should vote on item 40, and then you are welcome to make a point of personal expression.
Sounds good.
Thank you. All in favor of item 40?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, item 40 passes. Did you have a point of personal expression, Councilwoman Graves?
Well, I just want to say that I respect each and every last one of you, my colleagues. I respect each and every last one of my colleagues. I think we all come from wherever point we come from in love, and that we really care. So sometimes my voice may sound, I'm a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. I just have certain tones that I use. So I don't want anybody to take anything personally. It's just that I definitely do have passion just like you do. So please, continue to vote your heart and give us your explanation, because just because I say it doesn't mean that it's automatically right. Usually it is, but it's not automatically right. Thank you.
Councilwoman, Majority Leader Taylor.
Madam President. if
Madam
there's-
President.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Councilman Vargas.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to rise and thank you for allowing me. I want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. This is month of the mothers, and we celebrate we celebrate Mother's Day May 10th. And I know different cultures, they do it different, but happy Mother's Day from the City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman.
And happy 5 de Mayo. Woohoo!
Majority Leader Taylor.
Madam President, if there's no further business, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Anna Stetson, Raymond Grilly, Arthur Pooch Tavares, Evelyn C. Rodriguez Valerio, Del Padgett, Brenda Francis Brown, Myra Viscano, Robert Bobby William Cooper.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you all. We are adjourned. And we also have a council as a whole meeting with just a short little recess here in 3:05. Thank you.